30, I'd like to officially open up the Littleton Conservation Commission, and it is December 16th, 2025, and we are virtual. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the approval of minutes, which is December 2nd, 2025, which have been distributed to us. Does anyone have any amendments or corrections to either of those 4 pages? Okay.
No.
Okay. If no one has any, do we have a motion to accept as written?
I move that we accept the minutes as written from the previous meeting.
Thank you. Ed, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Carl. And then Carl, so Andrew's not here tonight. Carl has agreed to do roll call vote for us. Please go ahead.
Okay, Sarah.
Sarah Seward, aye.
Ed.
Ed Foltz, aye.
Kyle.
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
And Carl. Carl Melberg, aye.
That must feel weird.
Okay, so that is unanimous and that vote carries. Okay. Looking at our agenda, does anyone have anything they'd like to add to administrative discussions? Tim's shaking his head no. Okay.
I have a question about Mill Pond, if possible.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
The answer for you, Kyle.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and start with annual approval for invasive species treatment, Forge Pond Invasive Species Control Mass DEP 204-872. You'll note that in your packets, Tim had sent along 2 pages to that. Is Dave?
Sarah,
Yep.
sorry, before you jump into that, do you want to mention the continuance? You know,
Yes. Thank you. Sorry. I knew about it, but didn't. So because we have commissioners that are not here, if anyone's on for the 8 p.m., the continued public hearing discussion of current and future land use for town-owned parcels, U12-14-0, we are going to postpone that into January. Chase had requested that along where we're not all here, and we want to make sure that we're all here to have that kind of discussion. So if anyone's on, we don't want to keep you on if you don't want to join us for all of that.
and so I'm promoting over Dave Barr right now to talk to that. But as I, mentioned that, Sarah, I looked in the attendees and we don't have any besides Dave. So
I was just gonna look too. I shocked.
We might have to restate that when the time comes.
Sure, and if you see others kind of jumping in, just tag me for that to remind. Okay.
Sure.
So let's go ahead. So, Dave, we did receive your 2-page outline. Tim, do you want any overview you want to give before Dave jumps in?
I think Dave could probably give the summary of what he's looking for, but Dave came to the commission a couple of weeks prior. It's part of the order of conditions for Forge Pond that they receive annual approval from the commission to conduct the herbicide treatment over there, and it's not just limited to herbicide. I think it's other forms of aquatic invasive control as well.
Okay, so Dave, what I deduce from this as a synopsis is that you'd like to see some amendments to C16 and C17 of the order of conditions. Is that correct?
C16 is unclear, and we'd like to clarify that and update it. C17, the commission decided that it wanted to approve herbicide treatments every year rather than approving them every 3 years when the permit comes up for renewal.
Okay.
It wasn't explained as to why, but since it technically we would need to come for permission this year, I was doing that.
Yep. So do it in now for the next. Okay.
Let's for summer of 2026.
Yep. So let's go ahead, Dave, and go through C16 so we can stay in numerical order. Can you just give a brief overview of that? And commissioners, as a reminder, this is in your packet as well.
Yeah. When we in 2024, when we requested that our orders of conditions be amended to include herbicide treatments. We also asked for it to be amended for some of the physical harvesting. When we had gotten the physical harvesting approval, we laid out various different kinds of harvesting, but the only one we were planning to use was eco-harvesting. So eco-harvesting was approved to be used and report back when we did it. The other forms of harvesting, suction harvesting, manual harvesting, automated harvesting without collection were formally approved, but the condition in C16 was if you actually want to use one of these things at a later time, you won't have to go through the whole notice of intent and amendment and notifying of butters and all that. You'll just have to come to a regular meeting and explain that now you want to start using it, and the commission would decide if it was okay to start using it. And so that was included in the request in 2024 when we asked to be able to do herbicide treatments, since we were coming for that, and we were expecting we were going to be starting to do suction harvesting. We said, can we get approval for that so we can come off that list of items that has to be approved subsequently. And that was all done, but the C16 was only amended to include implementation of herbicide use. So that's not clear. That's kind of a confusing sentence, but our expectation was that C16 would have been amended to remove suction harvesting, since we had come back and said, here's how it works, here's how we're planning to do it, we'd like to have approval to do it, and approval was given to do it.
Okay. Tim, do you want to follow up on that?
Yeah. If I follow correctly, Dave, what you're looking for is you're looking for the language of the suction harvesting and was there another method as well? You said
Manual.
We would just be removing suction harvesting, and so that we have to if we're planning to use manual hand pulling or cutting without collection, we'd have to come back and say, here's how it works, here's what we'd be doing. Do you approve us to be able to do that? But suction harvesting would come off of that. And I mean, I would, just for cleanness, I would say that last sentence, amended to include implementation of herbicide use, would come off of there too, because I'm not sure what that was intended to mean there.
Okay, commissioners, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with this. I think I agree. So just so I think I can clear my head, you come back in front of us with the hand pulling and cutting without collection because you have not explained to us how that would work, correct?
We're not intending to use that, and so
right. So you haven't explained.
Right. So if we did at some point decide we wanted to use it, we'd come back and explain how it works and why we were trying, why would we want to do it, and how we would actually be implementing that, and see if there's agreement for doing it.
Right. Whereas with the suction, we've already gone through all of that.
Yeah, the suction, we've already gone through that. Right.
Okay. Commissioners, other questions or comments on this?
No.
Okay. Do we want to go through the language now, or do we want Dave and Tim to come up with that language for approval? Or are we just striking here?
I wish let Dave and Tim come up with the language.
Okay. Dave, do you have comments on that?
Annual approval from the Conservation Commission. So yeah, so I'm asking for permission to do it. I mean, we're going to the CPC committees to, talk about funding for this year. So, and we're working with water department to do the bidding for this year, which they're planning to do in the next month. So I wanted to make sure we had the approval to do it as part of the process of bidding it out.
Commissioners, questions?
Do we have a treatment plan in place? I feel like we've gone over products that would be used and all that. Is that the case, or is it depending on the contract that's awarded?
So the way it works is the contract's given. The vendor comes to do a plant survey on the lake to see what level of plants there are, where they are. Based on that, they make a recommendation as to what the treatment should be, and then there's an agreement on doing it, and they do it. There's usually not a lot of time, so they would be doing the plant survey beginning of June, and we would like to do the ideal thing would be to do the treatment in June also. So there's not a lot of time to be, between that. I mean, in the past, these approvals have been given to the lakes, not our lake, but the other lakes in town, and they were told to go ahead, and they come back in 3 years to get it renewed. And this time you're asking for annual reports, annual approvals before it's done the next time.
But you're also asking for CPC funding too. So aren't we going to have and it's too bad Andrew's not here, but aren't you going to have a range of what you're soliciting?
We have approval for CPC funding. We've asked for $20,000.
And who is using the same vendor, Solitude or whatever?
It'll get bid.
Okay.
I mean, if it was just our lake, it wouldn't get bid, and we would use Solitude. Okay. Because Spectacle Pond will also be doing herbicide treatments this summer, which they have a permit. They don't need to get annual renewals. And with the two lakes together, the expected cost of the treatments is enough that it has to be bid out.
Okay. Commissioners, questions? Comments?
The only comment I'd have is I know it's a time crunch, but I think we would be interested to hear what the selected contractor puts in place for a plan. The products being used, dosages, and I'm comfortable with it. I've sat in on some of the same webinars that you have. Yep. With Mass Rivers and all those folks, but I think we would still feel a little bit more comfortable if they came in front of us and said, or you came in front or provided us with their plan.
Is there an opportunity, because I do feel we're putting the cart before the horse, but is there an opportunity that we go through this process and then all of a sudden it doesn't quite meet what the CONSCOM feels is appropriate, that there is an out mechanism for conservation?
I know the conditions be where you would not want to.
We would need to have final approval based on, and I recognize in June everything has to happen so quickly. But I would think that we'd be able to have a 2-week window, but by the time that they come out and they sample and survey, give you the amount and their treatment, that we would still be able to have a meeting in that to really be able to authorize it. I don't know
if you want to, but the bidding will be done in the next month with the expectation that the treatment's going to be done, and I don't know what the implications would be if they bid it out and it was to be done, and then and then it wasn't done.
So Dave, it might be possible that the RFP can be put out with language that states that the treatment or the contract essentially is contingent on final approval from the commission on the methodology of the
Yeah, I mean, we have made suggestions on what the bid protocol should be. There were problems last year with the bid protocol, which precluded us from being able to use the CPC funding we had for a treatment that was less than the $150,000 that was bid, because the bid protocol only allowed one number based on the plant survey from 2023.
If
We do have, ideas of things that the bid could have flexibility, more flexibility than that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that should be done.
So
What
I'd like to do is to ask
if you want to do that, we can do that. I don't know if you're doing the same thing for Spectacle Pond.
let me just ask the commissioners if they're in support of this process. I think that's the biggest thing, Dave, for us, is that just making sure that this process is acceptable to the commissioners that are here tonight. So that's really where it comes from.
And the process being,
Being that we're going to give you the affirmative,
proposal, come back and get approval, and then do the treatment.
right, to give you the authorization to go ahead and request the funding and work with the water department to go forward on this, and really give you a time frame that you know that you can work comfortably in. Commissioners, any questions? We got to keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. The only thing I would say to maybe help you is that if you're collecting bids in the next month, or you have somebody lined up by February, you're pretty aware of what's going on in your pond, right? As far as invasives that exist and where they exist.
Yeah.
I think that gives you a couple months or even a few months for them to get a plan together. Even if they don't go out and survey a totality of what's out there, they should have an idea of what they're going to be using, how they're going to use it, and you should be able to come in front of us in that gap between February and June, right? And say, hey, these are the chemicals we intend to use. Dosing to be determined after we do our survey, but I feel like we have plenty of time to get more comfortable with this. But I agree with the process there. Yes.
Okay.
We could make a proposal based on what was there last year and see if it changes this year.
Sure. Okay. Tim, from a procedural standpoint, what would you like from us?
if you can vote on the approval of the timeline that the commission laid out, and for this essentially to be reconfirmed or revoted on in the spring once a work plan or more details are known.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, the implementation. Okay, does somebody want to try and grasp that language to put forth something?
Sure. Let's go with I move that we provide approval for invasive species treatment for the orphan condition number 204-872 pending final review of the proposed work plan implementation.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Roll call. Sarah Seward.
Sarah Seward, aye.
Ed Foltz.
Both sides.
Kyle Maxfield.
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
And Carl Melberg. Aye. Unanimous.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Is there a reason why there's a lot more scrutiny over this now than there has been on the herbicide treatments on the other lakes?
I think what we're starting to do is that my understanding is that also some of the changes that are coming forward for regulations, that this is going to be standard for other lakes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So they'll catch up.
All right, we've got to move on. Okay, so
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Good night. We're going to go ahead and open the 7:45 continued public hearing. Notice of intent, 242 King, DEP 204-30, removal of existing driveway, pool and walk, construction of parking lot and walkway. Bruce, once you're logged in, if you can introduce yourself.
Good evening. Bruce
Hi.
Ringwall, Goldsmith Preston Ringwall, here on behalf of Littleton Electric Light and Water, representing the project at 240, the portion of the project at 242 King Street. Good evening, all. Just looking at the numbers and the folks that are here tonight, and versus the folks that were here 2 weeks ago. I'm assuming that you guys still do the Mullen reading in and can allow Andrew and Chase back in on a continued meeting.
Correct.
Or maybe several of you have Mullened in that weren't here last week, which I guess is just Sarah.
Yep.
Awesome. A couple weeks ago, not last week, if I may share my screen.
So let's just go through. So in the essence of this, Bruce, if you're going to go through where we were last week and what you've been asked to do coming forth for tonight, correct?
Yeah, just this last week, this is the plan that was up that we were dealing with last week. And one of the things that I mentioned, I don't know why I got that thing hanging around there. We'll try and get rid of that. One of the things that I mentioned was the planning board asked to have us add the driveway that's now there, but the driveway in that comes in adjacent to the property. So I'm going to, I prepared this. Did that change screens for you? Oops. Do you now see the driveway over here on the left-hand side where my cursor is?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is the driveway that goes back to the treatment facility, and it's added in over here. And at the last meeting, Chase had made comment that has a hard time with single-family residential properties that have BMPs that are going to require maintenance, and that if there was another way to look at this to eliminate the need to have a BMP on the property. One of the things that he had asked was whether or not we could put this additional drainage into the drainage that had previously been permitted up over on the western side of the new driveway and further back. And I explained that the driveway is a high point and this is much lower, and it would be more maintenance because it would have to be a collection facility that would then pump the water up over to the other side. So in response to their request, the commission's request 2 meetings ago, we dug deeper into the original notice of intent filing and the stormwater management calculations that were submitted along with it. And we found that, and I'm going to switch sheets here for this sheet here. That change diagrams are still up for you. Perfect. Yep. Not every night does it change when you ask it to. So this is, I'll zoom out. This is a sheet out of CDM Smith's stormwater package that was submitted with you. And I'm going to just blow it up so we can look at the area in question down here in the front. And then we've added onto the bottom of this a few notes. And let's get those notes up there that say this. So Beaverbrook Area 1, per their calculations, contains 36,600 square feet of area. It has impervious area of 4,500 square feet, with the existing building being 2,800 square feet. The future replacement driveway, which they did show a driveway right over in here in that area, is 1,700 square feet.
Bruce, can I just ask a quick question? I'm just reading. So March 2022 is this plan. Is this are we talking about an as-built?
No, this is the notice of intent. This is part of the drainage that was in the notice of intent that was filed in March
Right.
of 22.
Right. And I guess my questions were, because we had so many challenges on this site that we made a lot of changes through its development as it kind of morphed into this wet pool of water.
Yep.
I don't know that I feel comfortable working off a plan that was proposed versus something that may have been amended, because I don't know that we have the as-built. And just from I mean, I could be wrong, so the commissioners can tell me I'm wrong, but I'm happy to talk about Beaver Brook and everything else, but I want to know that if we're talking about detention basins or things that were proposed, a lot of those things changed.
100%. And the order of conditions makes reference to these dated drainage calculations. I can bring it up. I have it somewhere in here. But, well, let me just walk you through this little piece, and then you can just see how much you want to go, because it's pretty straightforward. They had an impervious area in here of 4,500 and an existing building headed for future placement of a driveway of 1,700 square feet. Under the proposal that we were just looking at here, our driveway is larger than that 1,700 square feet. Our driveway and the sidewalks that we had coming around to the side doors are at 2,450 square feet. And we're proposing further to remove the shed, the pool house, the pool decking, and the pool, which is 1,405 square feet, which leaves us with a net decrease in impervious area of 655 square feet, or an increase in 655 square feet of pervious area. So all of that boils down to saying is that if the commission, and as Tim can tell you, we have a meeting tomorrow morning with your consultant, Tim, Lauren, Morin, and Cooper, and ourselves to talk about this, because they have done, Green has given us their first set of comments, and we have comments, and we want to have a meeting to discuss those with them. And we wanted all of the town staff to be part of it. If the commission so feels that we are, and agrees that we are in a decrease in impervious area, let's eliminate this. And this little driveway can have over, well, here's the 100 foot from the riverfront, and I'm sorry, here's the 100 foot, the red dash is 100 foot from the riverfront. So 100 foot from that, roughly 50 feet from here, 75 from here, overland flow over this lawn down towards the wetlands and towards the brook, to take care of any impurities that come off of this drainage area. But that for the site as a whole, the CDM calculations and all of the stuff that you folks went through to grant it an order of conditions and a stormwater permit address that additional drainage and additional impervious areas, and their rate of runoff and volume of runoff and their calculations are less in the built condition than they are in the pre-built condition, through all the storms. So this is just a general question to get kind of feel of the commission. Do you think that it's worth having this basin in here? Because if we follow through with the guidelines that they want to do this, Green wants to have a riprap spillway, which the only reason you put riprap in is if you have a lot of volume that's going to cause scoring and erosion. We have this tiny little driveway. It doesn't need that. Lawn's going to work. Green would like us to make this a 4-bay and expand out into the 100-foot riverfront area and up to the 50-foot no build zone over here, no disturb zone over here, to make yet another basin and then have a riprap spillway between the forebay and then into the retention and infiltration area, and then another riprap spillway. To me, this is ridiculous. If this was just a single, can I finish for 1 second? If this was just a single family lot, it wouldn't fall under the stormwater guidelines because we'd be way underneath the threshold for disturbance area. And we would just have a paved driveway and then be, having the water run off towards the wetlands. So I throw it out to you now. Sorry, Sarah, but I wanted to just spit my last
Yeah. Where's the snow storage
Snow storage?
for on the driveway?
They can take their snow blower and blow it off this way, or they can plow it straight off, whatever they want to do. We don't want it to go into the basin unless we don't have a basin.
Kyle? Thank you.
I was, as Bruce was going through it, and he showed us the other plans, or the original NOI. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Why is there a basin? Why are we doing this? We already approved an order of conditions without a basin there. How do we go back and expect them to approve or require a basin in here? Just technically speaking, I don't understand how. It seems like it's more of a aesthetic thing at this point. People expect to see it, so we have to build it. And what Bruce was just describing, that Green is requesting, have fun at that meeting tomorrow. But that sounds crazy to put in 4 bays and riprap spillways for like 3-car driveway.
Remind me, and obviously it's been a few years, how on the original plan did we have 3 parking spots? We had the driveway there. I never thought this was going to be multi-family hooked into the sewer. I obviously missed that.
It's always been a single family home with an apartment. So it's always been a 2-family, and it still has that flexibility of being that. How Littleton Light and Water markets it, I don't know, but they want to be able to break it off and market it. We're back here because we want to get rid of the pool. We want to get rid of the septic, make the connection to the sewer, and expand the driveway and a sidewalk from what they have. And I apologize that I have stripes and numbered parking spaces. They'll never have that there. It's just somebody got carried away in here. One of these spaces is just a turnaround area. I'm only looking to have 4 parking spaces off on the site for the house.
So it's a 2-family home.
It is. There is an apartment on the back.
So it's a 2-family home.
No more than different than many of these ADUs that are being proposed all over the place today.
Was there a question there? I don't understand. Yeah, I agree with the 2-family home.
No, he's trying to suggest that there's too many parking spaces. It's a 2-family home. That's why there's 4 spaces.
It's 4 spaces.
Yeah, I have no issue with the
Who originally said this thing in the back was needed?
I'm sorry, what's that?
When did that get put in? Who said it had to be put in?
I guess why did you design a basin, Bruce, in the first place?
Yeah.
Oh, the basin in the first place?
Yeah.
We designed the basin
must have thought it was needed.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Someone must have thought it was needed.
Internally, we felt it was needed. Engineering felt it was needed from the standpoint that the whole property has this other development in the back. We did not go through it in intense detail on that previous portion of it. Knew that there was a proposal for another driveway, and we're concerned that because of the development in the back, it would be looked at as a larger mixed use. We couldn't file as just a single family home or even a duplex. We could not file for that because it's not part of this whole property of land. So under the stormwater management from the state and from the town, we had to look at this whole site as a mixed use property. And so then we said, if that's the case, we need to throw in some sort of a basin, and we came up with the most gentle, easy thing that we could, which was this ponding area that would collect the water from this area. Now, when it was brought up at the meeting 2 weeks ago, look into what your alternatives are here, and we reached out to Littleton Light and Water and got a hold of the full filing and got a hold of the full set of plans and went through all the drainage page by page. We said, holy cow, they accounted for 1,700 square foot of a new driveway. Holy cow, they've already taken a lot of this into account. So hindsight, 2020.
From a procedural standpoint, now that the lot has changed, I know we've added to the square footage.
What did we add to the square footage?
Didn't we have to change the square footage of this lot? Didn't we have to carve into a little bit to make it 40,000 to make it an actual approved lot?
This lot is still, this filing right now is still part of the whole piece.
Okay.
All right. We have not created a new lot yet. We hope to create a new lot. The lot line will be basically between that driveway and this sidewalk, close to the sidewalk, back across the property, and then forward across here, pretty close to the 25-foot setback line and down to the road, carving out a 40,000 square foot lot.
And when would that happen? When would that?
Upon all the approvals getting through your commission and the planning board with their stormwater development.
Okay. Tim, did
It's
you?
a land court filing, so it takes a long time. It's got to go to land court. They have to do their piece, and then we come back to the planning board.
And then for the order of conditions, that's going to transfer to the new owner.
My gut is that's a possibility, but I got to believe that Littleton Light and Water is probably going to put the driveway in so they can sell the property with access.
Okay.
I haven't talked with Dave or Nick about that, so I'm not sure.
Okay. That's something when we're doing the order of conditions to bear in mind. Tim, I know that you had been tasked to go back when it was originally flagged for the wetlands. Did you happen to see that all of the wetlands on that other side had been walked as well?
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the file that said that they weren't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bruce, real quick. So when you were talking about looking at alternatives and Chase asked you to look into tying into the larger property, and you said, nope, that's uphill. So that doesn't make sense. Now I'm wondering, how did they account for stormwater in this section of the property if all of their stormwater features are on the west side of this property?
Good question. Let me show that to you. Go back to this page. This area had a reduction by removing this pavement and this portion of the barn. The driveway they had was smaller than that area.
Okay. Okay. So it's not that the site is going to be handling, or the west side of the site is going to be handling the stormwater. It's that this property can handle the stormwater with the pervious area that it has.
Right. You look at when you're doing stormwater modeling, you look at the site as a whole. All of the drainage that comes into here from the drive and goes into the other basin up here, all eventually flows down into here and goes through the culvert and off into the thing. So your analysis point is still Beaver Brook, but you have sub catchment areas within the site. So you look at your ultimate endpoint, but you look at all the collections in between.
So interesting point that you mentioned that with the sub-catchment areas. Tim, do you recall when we were out a year into the project, that in front of the house that we actually had to create an area for water to be diverted to?
Yes. So that area, gosh, the lay of that land has changed significantly since
Right.
there. You've got this whole area. I'm circling it like I'm the one sharing my screen. How do I best describe this?
Do you want me to go to the other plan? Is that easier?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's Sarah. Can you go? Can you restate your question again? Sorry, I lost.
So I keep coming back to, and I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong, but we're looking at a plan that I just have gone through so many changes on this property and so many modifications that I just want to make sure that whatever we're talking about of drainage is actually drainage that is there now versus what was proposed, because we made many infield changes. And one of those was, as we drove in, house was over to the right. We needed places to put water. So we changed the catchment areas. And I don't know, having not been back on the property since it's been done, if things went back to what was proposed, or going forward, if water is going to flow as it was supposed to. So I don't know if that makes sense. So I guess I was just trying to jog your memory, Tim, or Kyle, or anyone that was out there, when we had to make some of those last minute detours for some of the water.
So yeah, the section towards the front when you go in on the driveway and look towards the left, which is now the big detention basin, that changed a little bit since we were there.
So I'm thinking beyond that on the right as you drive in.
Yeah, so there's still that I don't know if is it a box culvert?
Yeah, so are you thinking about the culvert, Sarah? I know they were activating that culvert before they should have been, because they needed to move water. Is that the area you're talking about?
Exactly. And I wanted to make sure that, because I think we put a lot more over there than what was supposed to go. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at things based on what is literally in the ground right now. And if there's areas that have been altered, that when we think of, okay, this is an area that's just going to have a natural flow, and it may have already been an altered area, or we may have added more water into that area from other drainage.
Yeah, I guess my gut or my quick response to that would be, I think they saw a lot more water, and this is something they should have found anyway. There was no excuse, but there was that 495 tie-in.
Yes.
Right. So that basin was receiving a lot more water. The property, this Beaverbrook 1 area, is cut off from that. It's not, the water would go through the culvert, right, and downstream into Beaverbrook. It can't get to this portion of the property.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to make sure from hydrology, that it really can't get to it.
Yeah, I don't think it can, because the
added
road
a lot more water.
Right. But the road is the high point, so it would be in the detention basin, go through the conveyance structures and off into Beaverbrook before it would. And I'm pointing at the screen like you can see where I'm pointing. So I'm pulling
I can see where you're pointing.
you know what it was doing with these ends, right?
Okay.
So I understand what you're saying now, Sarah, but I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, it's just that I haven't been back out on that site after all that got done. Okay. So the meeting tomorrow is going to start to go through Green's first round or second iterations of questions, comments, going back and forth, correct?
Correct. And basically, I want to be able to say, or not say, as the case may be. Let me switch plans here. That, if what we're seeing is correct, that this previous calculations and this previous stormwater filing as part of the NOI and the stormwater filing for the treatment plant took into account for 1,700 square feet of a driveway, and we increase it a little bit and add the sidewalk into the front door or the side doors, remove the pool and the shed, we're still in more permeable on the site than there was yesterday. And do you want a basin or do you not want a basin? I mean, and then do we want to go to the extreme of, putting in riprap? Or even keep this ponding area that lets water recharge back into the ground. And it's an area that if there is sediment, we can, clean sediment out of, but let's not have riprap on it. There's not going to be any scoring of the grass in this tiny little bit of runoff.
Right, you're not seeing flows, right? You're not seeing extreme flows.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You won't see velocity, right? Like
Exactly. There's no velocity here. I mean,
So as part of this discussion, it sounds like, Bruce, you would like to get the sense of the commission of which way we want to go. I don't know that we're going to put forth a vote for that without
right.
hearing Greens International. You potentially could ask for a straw comment, but I would not be putting forth a vote for that without.
Straw comments all I'm after.
Commissioners?
For my opinion, I give you my opinion. If the math was showing that a basin wasn't needed, I'm fully on board with not putting in something that requires maintenance and would cause more issues. The caveat to that is you designed one for a reason, and I'm not totally sure what the purpose, or if it was just to do it because we had to, or we thought we needed to do it, or you actually did it because you needed to do it. So I'm kind of split down. I'd rather not have it there. Is my opinion. As long as the math and hydrology makes sense that it's not required, and I would say that's probably Green's next step. Like they would need to look at that as well. If we decide to say, here's the new idea, get rid of this basin, I would expect Green to have to peer review that. Does that make sense?
Carl, when you talk about hydrology, did we have a lot of testing in this area? And
I have no idea.
yeah, Bruce, you might know that. So like, I think Green would fall back on, is there historic data that shows that was needed for some reason?
If what was needed, I'm sorry, Sarah, I didn't hear you.
In terms of having that basin, like now that you've kind of thrown it out there, do they want to keep it there based on what was there for hydrology?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk with them about tomorrow.
Okay. I would say as of tonight, I would not lean either way. I'd want to hear what Green has to say first.
Okay.
Carl,
on both ends though, right? Like, can we give Green that up? Like, or are you going to present that to Green, removing it as an option? Like, I'd want them to hear that and know that that's an option.
What's that?
Tim, you're there too. Right? You can always present it.
Yeah. Okay.
Kyle, I'm having a hard time hearing you for some reason. I don't know what it is that we're presenting. We're not presenting as an option.
I want to make sure all you discuss taking this off the plan completely.
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. That's something I'm going to talk with them about.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Ed, Carl.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm with you, Sarah.
Yeah, it was put there for a reason until someone with more skill in this area than myself says, oh, no, it's not needed. That's not vested in building it, that is. Then I'm inclined to leave it.
Okay. So
with or without riprap, Ed?
Well, I can't speak to that. It's not on the picture now, so.
Oh, well, okay. So hopefully that was helpful, Bruce. We've got to keep going.
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Best of luck. Would you like us to carry this over to January 6th, or do you think you're going to need some more time to work with Green?
No, we hope to meet with them tomorrow and have resolution. January 6th sounds marvelous.
Okay. We'll go ahead and continue there to there. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Let's go back to administrative discussions. The next on the list was the hazard trees at Long Lake Park off the Harwood entrance. Who would like to speak to that?
So, Sarah, I actually want to take one out of order because we got some folks here from 359.
Yep, whatever you want to do.
So we can, get them on in and out of here quicker. So Joe and Dwight, I see that you guys are here, promoting you over now.
Sir, there's a couple other people in the attendees. I don't know if you want to remind them that the 8 o'clock
Okay. Yep.
continued.
So for those of you that are wondering, we had an 8 o'clock continued public hearing, which has been postponed because we have 3 members that are not here tonight. So that will be postponed to January. Unsure whether it will be the 6th or not. So we apologize for you waiting. We'd made a kind of comment at the start of the beginning, but we will not be having the 8 p.m. continued public hearing. Okay, let's go back and enforcement order for 359 King Street. So we have Dwight and Joe here. We did have a meeting the other day with Tim, Lauren, and myself to go through kind of current needs as well, working on discussion with the wetland scientist of when to go out and verify the flags, also come up with cataloging of trees, for the next meeting as well. So Joe and Dwight, if you want to introduce yourself with the understanding that we'll hopefully have a formal meeting on hopefully January 6th, if your scientist is back by then.
Yes. Thank you. I'm Dwight Long, owner of 359. Thank you for letting us jump in here, Tim. I just want to for those who were on the last meeting that I was on, I was sort of in the background letting the person that the wetlands professional speak for me, and he didn't really handle it the way that I would like to handle it. I would like to work with the conservation committee collaboratively. I know in retrospect that I took down some trees that I shouldn't have. I didn't intend to do that. I just thought it was my property. I could take down the trees. And it wasn't for any development purposes. It was to clear the pasture. I have some horses, or a horse and a couple donkeys coming in next summer, and I wanted to use it as pastoral land. I'm working with Joe Cataldo and currently working on our notice of intent for the entire site that we will submit. I'm not sure when that will be. I don't know what the timeline on all this stuff. But hopefully, Tim, you'll get together maybe next week with Andrew. I know he's coming back the end of this week.
So when we reference Andrew, you're referencing your wetlands scientist, just to be specific, because we've got an Andrew that's on this committee.
Oh yeah, Andrew from SAS. He actually did all the work. So we felt that it would be best for him to meet with Tim and whoever else wanted to walk the flagging.
Okay.
Yep, and so that's for the review of the isolated vegetated wetland that was noted at the prior meeting on the plan.
Yes.
Yep. So the wetland scientist is away. We're hoping we'd be able to do it before this meeting. However, he's away, so he's not going to be able to until, like Dwight said, I think next week.
So going forward, we'll continue this to January 6th.
Correct.
Okay. Joe, anything you want to say? Or
yes. Thank you, board members. I just wanted to make sure that the board members understood that the intent that we're trying to develop, as Dwight said, a pastoral look with plant material. We're sensitive to what's going to be able to be utilized, and what was presented the last meeting was not what was intended, and we certainly apologize for that. We are going to be working with a landscape architect, as well as to be working with our civil engineer to come back, as Dwight said, with a notice of intent for the entire property. And what that does mean is that what Mr. Long is looking at is to develop 2 ranch-style homes that overlook this pasture, that are right off of the property. They are within the Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that some of them touch the 50 to 100 foot setback from the wetlands. And our civil engineer, Oak Consulting Group, will be coming back to file the notice of intent and illustrate that. And I believe that Tim does have plans that the board members can see so that they can understand the totality of the development there, which is really only two new buildings.
And I think we'll leave that in terms of those plans when you and your engineers are on to kind of be able to show the commissioners the full scope of that. So I think an overview is going to be really helpful to understand that with your what is going to be submitted. But going forward with the enforcement order, we're carrying on with working on the trees that were there and coming up, cataloging them in terms of dimensions, what they were, and how they'll be replicated in the end result of the final plan as well. Tim, is that correct?
That was our takeaway from the meeting with you and Tim.
Okay.
And also, Dwight did find out that all the trees that were removed were red maples, and we have a count that I believe is in the enforcement order answer, which illustrated there was, I'm going from memory, I believe there was 13 in the 0 to 50, and the other 29 or 32 were in the 50 to 100 area of the wetlands. So,
okay.
But they are in fact all red maples. But we appreciate your time tonight, and we want to come in with our best foot forward here moving forward.
And I think it's helpful that we'll set aside some times perhaps that the commissioners can come and walk the land, even though snow covered, no decisions will be made, but that way they can get a lay of the land as well. But we thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting, but thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
I know.
All right. So Tim, let's go back. Discussion on Long Lake Park off Howard Entrance. I know people have gone by and looked at that. Where are we now with that?
Yep. So Ed was able to take a look, and Kyle came out with me and Lauren to take a look at the trees. And Kyle, if you want to give Kyle and Ed, if you want to give your opinion on the request. I mean, the request is for them to be taken down. There's 4 trees in total that are on Long Lake Park land. One of them is leaning very heavily towards the road. The other 3 are pretty vertical. I'll just leave it at that.
Go for it, Ed.
When I saw the tree, even the one leaning a lot, looked healthy. And I'm inclined to say it looked healthy, leave it. That was where I came down.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at them, they're evergreens where the bottom looks, they look dead, and then you look up and it's all lush and green tree. What I landed on was we've been given no evidence that the trees are unhealthy, right? We had a letter from Tree Masters or whoever that just said they're dangerous, they need to come down or something. It was incredibly vague. It was cookie cutter, clearly pulled off of a file somewhere and just sent. And that was not enough for me to approve removing these trees. If they can go back out and they do some coring and whatnot and can show us that they are in fact rotting inside and hollow or something like that, then we can talk about it again. I know they had one fall on the property relatively recently, and that one, you can see it inside was rotten, and you can see why it fell. But these don't show that inclination to me at all right now.
Okay, Tim, do you feel comfortable just putting forth those kind of comments from Ed and Kyle, and that if they want to do some more discovery, they're welcome to come back?
Yeah, and it was briefly touched on during the sidewalk. We actually met the I don't know if it was the owner or who it was out there, but we met somebody out there, and we were talking to them about the trees, and we mentioned that the main concern was the arborist now, and that it was very vague, and it didn't go into detail talking about why the trees were hazard. So yeah, I can definitely reach back out to those folks and let them know that's the concern and that the commission at this point doesn't feel comfortable approving it based off of that limited information that we've gotten.
Yeah.
Right,
Having
everybody,
said that,
go ahead, Kyle.
I still think that there's some action items for us or for the land stewards. So a lot of those trees were fully engulfed in invasives. Vines are very thick and wrapping up around the trees, so they will get choked off eventually if nothing is done. And so, of course, that's our property, so that's something that we will be responsible for. So we might have to either figure out ourselves through Tim and Lauren, or talk to the land stewards there.
Yeah, I can coordinate with LCT, and they'll coordinate with the land stewards into having that area, at least doing window cuts on the bittersweet that's there.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into Webster Woods parking update.
Okay, so last meeting we discussed parking for the property, and I'm going to share my screen here. We discussed two areas. Pull it up. Here we go. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Perfect. So we have Webster Woods right here. It's this property. Carl came out with us and Jim O'Neill. We walked the trail system. We were talking about the parking over here on Bulkley Road as kind of like a pull-off parking area, not necessarily official parking spaces, but just like a pull-off area, similar to Harwood, Town Forest.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we talked about was the parking spaces over on 300 Foster, and how we had been in touch with those folks about potentially having an agreement to have some of those spots designated as parking for access to Webster Woods, because access is a challenge for this property. And so we actually met with those folks since last meeting, and originally we were going to discuss the parking spaces, but it really got more into discussing access from Foster Street. So give me a second here, I'll zoom in. And so what they proposed, and we definitely entertained, because it seems like it could be a very good option, is there's a little section off of Foster right here, and almost right where this arrow is pointing, where there is enough space for two, and if the area is, the vegetation's trimmed a little bit, if there's one tree over here, if it were pruned and if there were some boulders that were moved a little bit, you could definitely fit three spots right there. And then from those spots, taking this, this area is mowed, it's maintained. Taking this pathway and using it as access to get to Webster, right about over here. So I'll zoom out again. What this would mean is we probably need one more boardwalk and an expansion of the trail system to connect to the trail system that's there right now. It would be to cross this section of boardwalk or of wetlands right here. So wanted to bring that to you guys and see what you thought of this option. And it would go with, it wouldn't be a permanent easement. That's their main concern. It would be, we'd have some sort of agreement where we would still pay some nominal fee and to have the access there.
Do we know what fee you're looking at would be the same as the parking spaces?
We didn't discuss specifics on the fee, just the idea of this route for access as opposed to the parking spaces.
Is anyone outside of yourself, Tim, familiar with this area in
this section over here, or just Webster?
No, the up by Foster, where that parking would be.
as far as the commission, I don't, nobody from the commission came out with us.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've been to that. I know the spot you're talking about. I drive by there plenty of times.
Okay. Cool.
I thought this was a non-starter though. I thought, wasn't this one of the
I
first
thought
options we
so,
talked
too.
about? And then
Yes, this is actually where it all started, Kyle. But I think
And
it
now we're back.
all started with the idea of a permanent easement here.
Right.
Now, okay, maybe this area works, but just an agreement, some sort of licensed agreement.
okay.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of having to pay for people to access our property.
Well, it could be, and I agree with you with that. It just depends on if it's a nominal fee, but it could give us some time to then really suss out the parking and the trails over on the property. So we would be getting kind of access potentially a little faster. But I agree, we would have to see what that would look like.
The other problem is what happens if people being people, they're maybe not as clean as that, somebody's just drops a whole bunch of stuff and the owner of the property gets angry about that. And we put all this money and effort into the boardwalk, a lot of money to put a boardwalk in. And then they say, no, you're done. I like the idea of the pull off, similar to what we have on Harwood. It works for Harwood. I think we can fit 2 vehicles there at the moment, if I remember correctly. And minimal impact. It's ours. We're not paying somebody for the right to use our property. Well, I say our, it's not mine, of course, but it just feels like to me that that's a better short-term option. And we can do it without anyone's permission, and we don't need to put a boardwalk. At least I don't think we do.
Tim, your thoughts on that? You've spent a lot of time on some of these.
So the access from Bulkley, there is the existing trailhead there. I don't know how many people will be visiting this property at a time. I will say, I think every time I've gone out to it, I don't think I've seen anybody there, but I think that's kind of the goal, is to get people more interested in using this property that we recently acquired. So I think having we could see the pull-off parking on Bulkley is certainly, in my opinion, not ideal. It's something that I think if we'd have no other options that we really should have. But I don't think it's ideal. And with the essentially annual agreement, right, for the access from Foster Street, there aren't many. I don't think we're putting a lot into to making this happen, right? It's really just the fee and highway department. If the landlord's okay with us making those minor adjustments to pruning the tree and moving some of the boulders that are there, we're not putting a lot of effort into resources into making that happen. So I think it's like,
we need a boardwalk.
I think it's low risk. We would need a boardwalk.
That's far from low.
So it's an Eagle project. I mean, how many boardwalks
very
have
well
been done for free in this town so far, right? There's plenty of people looking for, if this is one that you're concerned about, then this is the one that we throw out there for a project.
But even if we did put the extra boardwalk in there, and for whatever reason, at some point in the future, we revoked access from that entry from Foster, it doesn't mean that we'd have to, we could still keep that section of trail and that, that boardwalk viable.
Right. It just ends, yeah.
What do we gain going to Foster Street versus Bulkley, where Foster said 2, maybe 3 vehicles. Bulkley, we said 2 anyway, 2 pull-offs. So what do we gain one versus the other? Or what do we lose? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it well.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I just think the parking situation at Foster is definitely superior to what would be over on Bulkley.
In what way?
It's
getting off the road.
If you're
parking off of, so I shouldn't have compared. I compared it to town forest, the hardwood pull off.
And that pull off is quite nice.
It's significantly bigger than the pull off on Bulkley. Like if you're pulling off on Bulkley, your car might be rubbing up against one of the small trees over there. It is pretty tight.
And we don't know where the right of way is for the town-owned road either. Yeah, like how far does the right of way go? Where the cars would the cars be parking on the town right of way?
And they
It's
up.
Yeah.
The highway department's right of way.
It sounds like if there's time to kind of when weather's a little more appealing to kind of go out and just look at the 2-3 spots, because we can really talk about this and look at topos, but until you actually try and get there with your car, if there's no snowbanks, I would encourage commissioners we can kind of try and do some of those site walks if you're so inclined, or Tim, you can drop us a pin of where that other location is.
Sure.
If we have permission to walk on the property off
Yeah.
Foster.
What's the current use of that other area off Foster? What are they doing there?
It's
Is it just mowed? That's it?
It's mowed, and some of the employees that work in those offices walk around. They'll take lunch and they'll walk down to the pond.
So it's like a walking path.
Yes. Kids are sledding down the hill yesterday. So.
Oh, were they?
Cool. Okay.
Tomorrow.
Let's carry on with the next discussion if you're okay with it. We're going to talk about the conservation budget follow-up.
Sure. So Ed, Michael, myself, and Lauren met yesterday to talk about the budget. And Ed, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I think for the most part, comfortable with it, except for the lake management stuff. So it was asked of us to submit originally to put together our draft budget and include lake management items being funds for herbicide treatment at Forge Pond and Long Lake, and then lake management plans for Forge Pond and Long Lake, basically taking it off of the Clean Lakes Committee's responsibility to request it and putting it to a town entity to do it. Met with the finance department, treasurer's department to review our FY27 budget request, and we got to the lake management items, and they reiterated how we're in a huge deficit, and they're looking to find other avenues for funding things or make budget cuts. And so they asked if these items can be funded through CPC instead, and they can. And so the goal was then for us to put in applications in the spring for the herbicide treatments and the lake management plans at those two water bodies. So
tell the rest of the story though. The plan was to put them on our budget at $0.
Yeah. So what was essentially asked was for them to not be requested in our budget and be requested as CPC items in the spring. Yep.
So we would be responsible for these items with no money, no guaranteed money allocated. And I told Tim, as far as I was concerned, the answer is if I'm making the decision, the answer is no. That I'm okay with putting them on there with the money, saying we'll offset that money with grants that we can get, or if they say it has to be $0, then I would put the caveat that said if we can't get grants, we can't do it. But I'm not comfortable with us taking on a commitment. There was to the tune of $158,000, wasn't there on the number?
Around there, yep.
For the commitments, and I'm not comfortable with us committing to something with no money allocated to it.
Right.
So
I mean, that seems reasonable, right? You can say
Yeah.
that. Right? We're going after grants or CPC funding. If we don't get it, it gets pushed to next year. Right?
Yep.
Yep. So be it.
So I'm not sure, Tim,
So
Ed, how you actually.
When we left it, I left it with Tim that I thought if you want to leave it on there with the money and let them actually formally say, no, you can't have it, at which point then we tell them, well, then we can't do them,
Right.
you know? I wouldn't self-edit. If we can get the money, we'll do them. If they don't want to give us the money, then we don't take the projects. And it stays with Clean Lakes, I guess.
Well, is that true? How is Clean Lakes still a thing or going to be a thing?
I think there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like a TBD. So
Okay.
okay, let's carry on. I support Ed and Michael if that was what their last kind of like consultation was to Tim. I don't want to take the fall for money we don't have.
Okay, so leave it in there, and it's Super Saturday. If they tell us they're not going to fund it through the budget,
Right.
Then okay, so be it.
Then we drop it, take it off the budget.
When I would encourage, so Tim, when is that meeting? So to see if Ed or Michael could go to that if possible.
I don't have that date in front of me right now. I want to say last year was it January?
Okay. Can you try and, I mean, with the most amount of notice
Yeah.
possible?
As soon as I get that date, I'll send that over. It's either January or February. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
So what happened? I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying, but are we being told that we can use CPC funding for this too? Like, why would we not try to get that?
So it's unfortunate that Andrew's not here because I think that you can do kind of like a one and done, but it can't be a long-term maintenance that you ask for this.
So the information that was conveyed to me was that this would not be determined to be maintenance. If we
No, it would be a plan, right? Yeah, it's a one-time plan.
the
Or
only
at least the
thing-
management plans.
Yeah, the herbicide treatments. I mean, the real concern is other towns' CPCs have determined after X amount of years. All right, this is still being requested. We're going to consider this maintenance and not fund it.
Sure.
I was told that
Not maintenance. How is it not maintenance? You're most likely going to be doing the herbicides every year.
And that's the thing, like these aquatic invasive plants that are being treated are presumed to be there forever. They're classified as non-eradicatable.
Mhm.
Okay.
The best you're doing is kind of holding them back a little.
Well, let's see how this kind of shakes out. But if you can get us the dates for that meeting, that would be
Okay.
great.
Yep.
Let's carry on with Cloverdale ADA trails.
All right. So this was just to update you guys. Lauren and I walked Cloverdale with Diane Corey, who is the chair for the Disability Commission. And the Disability Commission through the town has received a grant from the state for designing an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan to address barriers to accessibility in programs, services, and facilities. And so as part of that, what they're looking at, what they'd like to look at, is essentially making the whole Cloverdale loop ADA compliant. And so what that would mean is going from the parking lot down to the main boardwalk. We had the Mass Trails grant for that accessible trail, right, to get down to the boardwalk. I was told that boardwalk isn't actually entirely ADA compliant. And so the entire boardwalk plus the area going through the trail going through the forested or the upland area would also need to be boardwalk all the way out to the field right next to Great Road. And there might have to be some grading over in that field to make the grade not as basically compliant with ADA standards, not terribly steep. I just wanted to update you. That's something that they're looking into.
So, as in, Tim, they chose Cloverdale is because of the parking?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is that something?
That and we already have the ADA trail to get down to the boardwalk.
Well, obviously it's cumbersome for us in Littleton because we have so much wetlands and water bodies and hills that it's not like we have a place that can be a little bit easier to manage if we were to go total ADA. That would be a long trail for sure.
Is that longer than Browns Woods?
I
I don't know where we're going to get the parking.
don't know if it would be. I don't know if it is longer than Browns Woods.
But is it something we normally do, digging into a field and with the interest of flattening it out and so forth, essentially sculpting it? Doesn't that kind of go against the maintaining the wildness of it? I guess I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I'm not
We would
saying I'm
definitely
not
be
against ADA stuff. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, but we'd be making impact. We'd have to, yeah, there would be some impact areas for
Right,
sure on
yeah.
that particular property. That's why I was curious why they chose that one because there could be other properties we could look at that might be a little easier
Mhm.
to facilitate. Okay. So you're going to get back to us on that?
Yeah, that was just an update for you guys that's the property that they're looking into right now. And there might be others, I'm not sure, but that's what their eyes are on.
Okay. And then Kyle, you had a question on Mill Pond that you want to chat about?
Yeah, so I saw an article in through work, with the dams work that I do. The state is releasing funding for engineers and owners to do, I guess, maybe like feasibility study engineering work on dams for removal and or rehabilitation, primarily focusing on removal. The article stated that there's 7 currently being evaluated and that Mill Pond is one of them. And Tim, you're smirking like you kind of knew that, but I have not heard anything about that. So
I was made aware of this today, actually.
okay, same day I was.
Yeah, so when I was over at the water, working part-time at the water department, this was one of the things that I helped, one of the applications I helped submit, right? And I'm not sure if it was last year's submission or if there was one I don't know the timeline. And honestly, I can't even remember if I submitted it last year or earlier this year. But I knew it was out there. I thought for some reason that they didn't get chosen. But yeah, I confirmed with Matt, this was from that application that was put in. And so yeah, they've received or they're going to be receiving funding to have the study done, and I think it's to completely remove the dam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I submitted a proposal on it at work ourselves because it was 7 dams, and you assumed you have $50,000 to design, but a very very rough 30% design or something like that. I just didn't realize that Mill Pond was going to be one of them. And one of the reasons I brought it up is I think it ties back into the conversations we had a couple weeks ago, Ed, with like the fishing. That directly ties into Beaver Brook, right? And so I'm even more reluctant to go ahead and put public access onto that Parley lumber plot. If I guess we can take it further step back, this isn't going to happen next year. That dam is not getting removed for another probably 5 years at the earliest. The way that's just how it works with permitting and evaluations and design and everything like that. So that I'm aware of, but I don't know. It's conversations worth having. Them though, obviously, Matt will be pretty much kept in the loop. We'll have a pretty big say in how that looks and what goes on as they pursue it.
Cool. Alrighty. It is 8:57. If no one has anything else to chat about, if someone would like to make a motion to close this hearing.
Move that we close the hearing.
Second,
Okay, Carl, roll call.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
Ed Foltz,
Ed Foltz, aye.
Kyle Maxfield,
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
and Kyle Melberg. Aye. We have a unanimous vote.
We will see everyone in the new year.